Let's go.
You're listening to Making Data Simple, where we make the world of data effortless, relevant, and yes, even fun.
Listeners, Making Data Simple, we're back yet again, always, every week. It just keeps going. So today I have with me Jonathan Mast. He's the founder of Whitebeard Strategies because he's got a white beard to match. So very good. I like the naming. And he's the creator of the Perfect Prompting Framework. He advises marquee brands such as the U.S. Tennis Association, among others. He has a Facebook community devoted to AI prompting. He's got over 100,000 subscribers through his AI newsletter. He is here to help us distill through the hype around generative AI in a practical, profit-driving way through playbooks, etc. So we'll have a chat with him. I've already got a lot of questions. Jonathan, welcome to our humble show. I appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to have a conversation.
You've done many podcasts, right? Over 100 podcast appearances.
Yeah.
Is podcasting your thing or what?
No, it's just really been, as we've got into AI, we found out there's lots of people that have questions about it. And as a result, I've got invited, thankfully, on a lot of podcasts.
Now, if you had Blackbeard, would it be Blackbeard Technologies?
Probably,
Strategies?
yeah, probably would have been. This was a result of a I don't know what to name this company, and trying to find one. And all of a sudden, I was like, well, let's try the Whitebeard and see how it works.
I have some questions on the companies. Before I forget, I want to make sure you have a couple minutes to just introduce yourself. Tell us about your background. Don't leave any of the good stuff out. What brings you here?
My background is really simple. I've been in sales and marketing almost my entire career. Started in a digital marketing web design agency in 2010 after having sold that service for a long time. Grew that up, had a great run, an amazing team, served literally hundreds and hundreds of clients. And then AI came on the scene in the fall of 2022, winter of 2022. And as an ADD entrepreneur, which I am, I quickly realized I could get a whole lot of stuff done with AI. And that excited me. Combined with the fact I saw my team at the time started to have some trepidation about AI. They were worried, it's going to take my job. Am I going to be at loss? What's this going to mean for me? And I thought, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity. I'm 54 years old at the time to pivot. I was, had spent enough time doing digital agency work. And so I just decided to really focus on helping businesses and their teams learn how to leverage AI in order to really achieve three key objectives that we talk about: save time, make some more money, and deliver more value to your clients. And it's been an absolute ball. I get to do what I love all day long. I get to play with AI. I get to teach people about cool things that I figure out, and meet literally thousands and thousands of amazing people in the process.
So how long has Whitebeard Strategies been in existence? When did you start?
Around about 20 months so far.
20 months. So you're still a startup. How many startups have you done in your career?
This would be probably number 4 or 5.
Number 4. And all of the other ones ended brilliantly? Exits?
No, not at all. Not at all. I wish I could say that's the case. No, one of them ended up with me gravely in debt and paying money back for a long time. I learned a very important lesson there. Others didn't go as well as I thought. Sometimes we have these thoughts and we think this is just going to be amazing. And we find out that the only people that thought it was going to be amazing was me and myself and I, and everybody else disagreed. So we've had a couple successful ones, though, which has been great, and had a great exit from the digital agency. That one worked out really well. And hopefully at some point this one will play out. And, at the moment, though, I'm absolutely having more fun than I've ever had in my life and enjoying my days more than I ever have. So I'm in no rush for this one to end.
So they say that all you need is one big one and then you're set for life. Is that how it works or what?
I don't know. I haven't had the big one yet. So.
Oh, okay. All right. But I thought, you said digital agency. It did well, right?
It did well. It did well, and it was fine. But it was not the storybook 8-figure exit or anything like that. But we did fine. We learned a lot of lessons. It made us good money along the way, and it was a great experience. And we had a decent exit, so no complaints whatsoever. But we're still looking for that big exit, and this may be that down the road somewhere. We'll have to see.
That's the way, man. I like the energy. But tell me a little bit more about digital agency. What kind of, how was it monetized? What kind of problems were you solving? Just to be clear, curious.
So we really began as a web design agency. So I sold my first website when I was working for an IT services company back in 1995.
Right.
Kind of a fun story. My boss at the time, this is 95, of course, when the web's just kind of coming out for commercial purposes. He's like, if you can sell this deal, it was a regional airport that had reached out to us. We did their IT work. If you can sell it, I'll hire the team to do the website. So I mocked everything up in PowerPoint, pretended to be a graphic artist, sold the website, walked into my boss at the time, and I'm like, all right, it's sold here. And he's like, okay, I guess we need to hire a team. And that kind of got me started in the web world. I really liked it. Right. And when I started selling websites, I realized that most websites out there back in the day, and mind you, this was in the early 2000s, they were mainly being sold by developers, and they worked well, but they weren't necessarily effective. In other words, they weren't converting deals, they weren't bringing in sales. I'm a sales and marketing guy, and so I really thought it would be fun to focus on let's make sure it works. That's a given, but now let's make sure it actually works for the business as a sales and marketing tool. So we began producing websites for that purpose, solving the problem of how do we get you more business? How do we help you grow your business by focusing on a marketing aspect of a website. And then it grew from there, and we always continued to focus on that.
Then you transitioned to Whitebeard Strategies. What was the inception of this? What made you make the switch?
Yeah. Probably just the fact that I was getting burnt out on the digital agency. So it's a great game, but after almost 15 years of doing that, it was time for something different. I was looking for something different. My entrepreneurial bug was kicking back in. As we grew the agency got to be the size where I couldn't necessarily be the visionary ADD entrepreneur that I meant to be. I mean, I probably could have, but it was just getting to be a lot more work. So as a result, I thought, time to start something new. Let's go start something new instead. And so we made that choice as opposed to that, to refiguring out who I was. Let's just embrace who I am. Let's embrace my strengths, and let's dive into something that I'm passionate about. And that passion was waning in the website business and the marketing business. And I wanted to move over into AI and have some more fun.
You always clearly mention ADD entrepreneur.
I am.
Give me some more info on the ADD. There's a reason you put that in there.
So many people consider ADD, ADHD to be a negative. I don't. I got diagnosed when I was 42 years old, and explained a lot of things when that happened. And I learned throughout that process to lean into what that meant as to who I was. So prior to that, I'd spent most of my career, I was always good at sales. I was always good in marketing, did really well on that, but I'm terrible at things like paperwork and details and that. And so I always tried to lean in to try to fix those things and become better at them, until I got in my mid 40s and I realized, after 20 some years in the workforce, I'm probably never going to be very good at details. So instead of trying to make me good at details, I said, let's just surround myself with people that are good with details, and I'll focus on the things that I'm good at. And that was really just a major mental shift, but also a major shift in my career, because of the fact that it really allowed me to lean into my strengths. So I talk about that because I believe there are a lot of entrepreneurs that have ADD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. It just seems to be a characteristic. Secondarily, I think it is really, especially when combined with AI, I think it is a superpower, because we have the ability to think very quickly, to think on our feet, sometimes too fast for other people. I get that. And AI gives us the ability to actually execute on a lot of those. And one of my core beliefs and core tenets has always been that success rewards speed more than it does perfection. And again, I'm good for messy profits as opposed to perfectly clean growth.
Did your ADD get more profound, or was it amplified as you got older?
That's a good question. I mean, having been diagnosed at 42, I don't really know. I think it became much more apparent as I got into the workforce. If I look back in school, I did really well in school. I was the quintessential kid that, if I liked the topic, I'd get a great grade in it without any work. If I didn't like the topic, I'd work my tail off and get a rotten grade at it. It was really depending on whether I liked it or not. As I got into the workforce, though, those characteristics that I didn't fully understand at that point became really readily apparent. I remember I was, again, working for others. I was in sales and marketing. And I remember having a conversation with my last sales job. And the owner was like, look, Jonathan, you're great at sales. You're bringing in lots of business. We love it. But you actually need to do your paperwork. You need to fill things out in the CRM. You need to do this. And I remember this was before I was diagnosed. I looked at it and I said, I'm just not good at that. We need to come to an agreement. What's more important, me selling stuff or me putting stuff in the CRM? And he thought for just a moment, and he goes, at the end of the day, you selling stuff's more important. I just said, good. So the rest of it's your issue, not mine. I'll be your number one sales rep. That's my commitment to you. You need to figure out how to handle the rest of it, because I'm just not any good at it. And again, it was about a decade later that I got diagnosed and learned maybe where that came from. But I guess it's become maybe just I'm more aware of it as I've grown older. Maybe it's become more apparent too. It's hard to say.
Look, I resemble all those remarks. That's why I kind of, not diagnosed, but I think it's I don't need to be diagnosed. The details, they actually make me angry.
Absolutely. I'm with you 110%.
And I just not happy and I just look, and I'm the same guy that, has to ask for details for many of the team, and some of the sales reps, like you mentioned there. But having said that, man, I struggle. Even with email, it's like, just monotony over monotony. All right. So the Whitebeard Strategies, is this how would you describe this company? company? Is it consulting? Is it services? Do you provide tools? Give us a characterization, if you would.
We are a coaching and mentorship company, and that's basically Jonathan is a coach and a mentor. I do group coaching and I do group mentorship through mastermind programs. I also do a lot of public speaking and occasionally take on a private project, but because of my ADD and my focus, it's much harder for me to focus on a private project where I've got to be very responsive to my customer and exactly what they want, as opposed to the group coaching where I can go, hey, here's a topic that I think is really cool. I think people are going to be into. I'll teach about that. And if I get hundreds of people to sign up for that, everybody's happy. And Jonathan didn't have to necessarily worry about those details that I'm not so good at. Because I was passionate about it, the details came easy, if that makes any sense.
Why coaching, though? Why mentorship? There's a lot of things you could do. Why is it? Is this your passion? Or do you think this is your brand at this point in time, or what?
It's definitely my brand at this point in time. I kind of stumbled into it after having done some trainings, and the feedback I got from people was, man, I really like your style. I like the way you do this. You make it very practical. When it comes to AI, I've always been focused not on theory, but on practical aspects of it. And I'm not a PowerPoint guy, so I don't do PowerPoints. When somebody wants me to do a PowerPoint, I'm like, I'm not your guy. That's just not who I am. But I'm very much on making sure that it's applicable to the audience that we're speaking to. And yesterday,
what do you use then? I mean, if you're on stage and you can't use PowerPoint, are you doing whiteboarding or what are you doing?
Because it's AI, a lot of times I'll have my computer up and I'll have ChatGPT or tools like that up that I'm showing people how to do things. Or we've got a static slide that's behind me. It's my job to entertain you and keep you enthralled.
So is it all AI? Is that the business is coaching and guidance, but is it around, in mentorship, is it around AI?
Yes.
Is that so if like a data fabric or data comes in, unless it deals with AI, you'd be like, hey, that's not my focus.
Yeah, I mean, a good example would be yesterday I spoke to a group of about 70 people in an executive mastermind, and all business owners, all a lot like you and I, but not necessarily implementing AI. And we had a 90-minute session. I spent about 30 minutes sharing some basics. Here's the stuff to go over. And then we dove into a Q&A and literally we're sharing screens, showing them how to do things, answering their questions to make that session super applicable to them. That's pretty typical of like a private engagement when I do them. On the public side, yesterday I did a course or a training where we were teaching people how to use Google's Notebook LM, which is one of Google's AI products, to do various things and set that up. And again, we're always trying to figure out an application direct to that business owner or that entrepreneur or their team, so that it's not just here's how to use Google Notebook LM. We can go learn that on YouTube, but how can we implement this in your business in a way that's practical and that adds value to you right now?
Why is Jonathan or Whitebeard Strategies the answer? I mean, look, we're dealing in the age of AI. Hell, you can go get AI to tell you about AI.
You can.
Why? So why, what problem are you solving as a company?
People overcomplicate AI. AI is really simple. Now, it can get very complicated. I don't mean to say it can't, but most people begin out of a position of uncertainty. And as a result, they don't really know where to begin. They don't know what to do. And as an entrepreneur, most of us get a bit befuddled and overwhelmed by all of the marketing and all of the news that we hear about every new tool. I mean, let's face it, if there aren't 2 or 3 new announcements a day, it's been a slow day in AI. AI advancement is just crazy. And so the other problem that I solve is for that overwhelmed business owner or team member who's trying to figure out, where do I put AI into this mix? I get to be that guide to help them. It's kind of like, a couple of weeks ago, I took my 2 boys out. We went fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. I guess it's Gulf of America now, but anyway, in the Gulf, we went fishing. I've never gone saltwater fishing before in my life. Didn't know what to do. My boys had never done it before. And so what I do, I hired a captain. I hired a guide that took us out. He picked us up. He had all the licensing. He had all of the rods. He had everything we needed. He had the boat. He knew where to go. We did all of that because I needed a guide. I was interested in it, but I needed somebody to show me how to do it and where. And that's really my role when it comes to help the business leaders navigate AI, figure out what parts of it to use, what parts not, how to present it to our teams in a way that they're not freaking out. A lot of teams have trepidation, again, about what's this mean for our jobs, and how do we leverage it to help provide ultimately better service to our customers? Because when we do that, we create better relationships, we create more profit, and we create longer, more value in our company.
I mean, like I live AI every day. In fact, as I often say, we're probably doing too much AI on this podcast. If you can actually do it, it's just like everybody's interested in it. And a lot of the brokers and stuff find great speakers like yourself and, introduce me. And then we end up folks on the podcast, all good. But I deal with enterprise most of the time with AI. I mean, it's enterprise to enterprise. My question to you is, when you're working with clients, whether it's companies, individuals, or not, I'm just curious from your point of view, where are most people at in this AI journey? Where are you finding them at?
Most, I think, are almost at the beginning of the journey. They're aware of it. They've accepted the fact that AI is not going away. I think last year in 2024, we still saw a lot of people that were like, it's a fad, it's not going to last, it's going away. I think that is gone. But I do absolutely think that most of the people we deal with are at the very beginning stages of how do we use AI effectively? How does it fit in? The reality is most business owners are intrigued by it, but that's not their passion. Their passion is their business, their family, things like that. AI is another tool, and they're just trying to figure out how to use it to make things work.
So they're at the very inception
I believe so,
of AI.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about your perfect prompting framework. What was the pain point you were working to resolve when you created this? And tell us a little bit more about this.
Well, when most businesses start getting into AI, or most people start getting into AI, the next thing they start doing is collecting prompts, because they think that we need this magical collection of prompts so that when I need to know how to write a social media post or write a standard operating procedure or answer an email, I need the right prompt to do that. And I've never really found that to be helpful because, first of all, even if I have a small list of, say, 100 prompts, searching through that list to find the prompt I need is going to be really difficult. And then when I find it, it's probably not going to be applicable anyway. And so what I found very quickly, and I've always been a framework person, I believe in frameworks, is if we would just teach people how to prompt AI, how to communicate with it, how to ask it questions, and get great results. Now we don't need those lists. We don't need to waste time searching for the perfect prompt. All at this point I can do is I can literally go in, I can tell it the type of expert I want, I can give it some context, I can ask it my question, and I can give it permission to ask me follow-up. And all of a sudden I get really great, in fact, incredible responses, whether I'm using ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or any other large language model that's out there. I'm a huge fan of the custom GPTs where we can custom train GPT models with our own data. I think that is a feature that's been sorely missed by others.
Most of what you're talking about is prompting. Are you doing RAG-based use cases where you're using client data? Are you doing any fine-tuning?
As a general rule, our focus is on prompting and tool usage. So that's really where we stick at. We don't get into, for example, bot implementations and things like that. There's great stuff there. It's just beyond what I want to focus on. When it comes to the RAG databases and stuff, yes, we do that. But most of that, again, we're teaching our clients what tools to use in order to do that, as opposed to actually providing that. We don't have any done-for-you services that we do anymore. We did when we first started, but we've stopped all of that to focus on the coaching and the masterminds.
I got to ask you this: with the advent of agentic AI and the agents coming out, where you'll have feed forward loops, and previously we've had even the concept of prompt engineering. There is a thought out there that prompting is going to be short lived and go away.
There is. I don't agree, but there's absolutely a lot of people that believe that. My perspective is that we always need to give an input, whether we call it prompting or prompt engineering or whatever. There needs to be an input. That AI model is not going to do anything without either a programmer or a user giving it some form of input and direction. Whether we call that prompting or anything else is, I guess, semantics. But I still think, any relationship we have, the way in which we communicate with that AI model, the way in which I communicate with my wife, my kids, whatever, that communication is critically important to success. And I don't think that's going to change. I think with the agentic, it even becomes more important as I start playing with tools like Manus and other tools like that are doing agentic workflows. I believe it's even more important because it's going to take what we say and add to that and extrapolate on that. And so the better I can communicate what I'm trying to do, the more effective that result is going to be back. Just like in business, when we work with somebody who's a great communicator, they're able to get a lot done. When we work with somebody who has difficulty with communications, oftentimes they struggle and don't see the same level of success just because they're having difficulty communicating, whether it's with coworkers or clients or anybody else.
But don't you feel like with reasoning, these feed forward loops, yes, you'll have different forms of communication, whether it's meta glasses, whether it's still, typing on a keyboard, but that AI bot, for lack of a better example, will recognize you, kind of get to know you. And I guess what I'm saying is the prompt, it can be fraught with peril. You could just throw something out and it'll say, I know, this is Al. He's asking about football again. Let's throw this in there. He didn't say it specifically, but I know what he's thinking. Boom.
Absolutely agreed on that. As the models continue to learn us better and our tendencies, and that 100% agree that yes, the level of detail that we need to give will certainly change. But I still believe that the AI models need context, and they can learn some of that context from our interactions. But I think the reality is that for many of us, we'll be able to give it minimal prompting, minimal context, and we'll get okay responses, and we're not going to use AI extensively. Then there's going to be those that I think I fall into, and probably yourself and others, and that's it. We're going to learn how to use the tool most effectively, and we're going to get tenfold results and responses out of that because of the fact that we decide to learn how to do it. Probably no different than, I drive my minivan back and forth to the market. I'm not going to make great time doing it. I'm going to get there. It's going to be reliable. It's fine. If my neighbor, who's got an incredibly beautiful Mustang convertible Shelby, that sounds amazing when he pulls it out of the garage, if he goes, he's going to beat me to the market. He's probably going to get there far faster than I am.
He's going to get a ticket, though. So
he may get a ticket along the way. And here's the difference. My minivan, when I want to go somewhere, I literally just hop in and I go. I don't have to think about it. He's constantly out there pampering and tweaking and doing things with his car. Now, part of it's because it's a passion to him. He gets more performance out of his car than I do out of mine, but that's okay. We have different needs and objectives. And I think AI is going to be the same way. There's going to be some of us that want to really amplify what we're doing and get the maximum value out of AI. And there's going to be others of us, it's going to be a utility. And we're going to look and go, okay, I don't have to do XYZ anymore. I don't have to, for example, if I'm cooking dinner, I don't have to go and look up a recipe because I can literally just talk to my phone and say, tonight I want to make meatballs. What do I need? And it'll go, well, what do you have? And I can literally show it in my refrigerator by opening the door and have it go, okay, here's what you're going to do. And here's how you're going to put it. For most people, that's going to be more than ample. Some of us are going to want to go to another level. And I think it's just going to depend on where we're at.
So going back to prompting, to my understanding, you have a 4-step method. Can you describe that method?
Yeah, absolutely. It is that perfect prompting framework that you mentioned. It is very simple. 1, tell the model what type of expert it should act as. Probably the least important part, but still helpful. 2, provide context. It'd be no different than if we're working together and I come up and let's say you're an expert at creating press releases and I say, hey, I need a press release. And you go, great, I can do that. And I turn around and walk away and I don't give you any context. You're never going to write a great press release because I didn't give you the relevant information you needed, audience, topic, and all that type of stuff. We make that mistake with AI all the time. We don't. So that's why the context is so important. Step 3 is just asking it your question or giving it your objective. Really simple. That's what we're all good at. But I actually think step 4 is one I hear about very infrequently, and I think it's the most important, especially for the average user. And that's like when I'm done with my prompt, simply add in the phrase, ask me any questions you have. And when giving the AI permission to not assume, but to actually ask you clarifying questions, it is generally smart enough as a model to go, well, you asked me to write a press release. I need to know the intended audience. I need to know what the goal is. I need to know these other 3 factors that I maybe don't know. And when it asks me, I can answer them and get a much better response. So it's simple 4 steps: type of expert, context, your question, and literally ending with ask me any questions you have.
Well, a couple comments I would make.
Sure.
First off, I totally agree with you on the expertise piece. I think a lot of people skip that step. You need to give the model the persona as a reference as to what you're looking for. And the dialogue that you mentioned, very, very interesting and cool technique. When you're teaching this to newbies, to AI, what do you do to drill this home? I mean, I was about to say earlier that, I'm doing this every day. In fact, I probably use AI. I don't know where you're at right now. If I'm less than 20 times a day, having it look at something, asking it a question. In fact, I don't even go to Google because I guess my questions are just deeper than that. Anyway, I use it all the time. But if you're a newbie, how do you explain this? How do you drill this home? I know it's a framework, so it's more than just what you just described.
It is really just demonstrating to them how it works and then encouraging them to try it. What I found with that in particular is that a lot of people like to pick it apart and go, well, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do this, or it's missing that. And that's fine. That's no problem. Everybody can have their own perspective. But what I consistently hear back from my students and my clients is that when they follow that, all of a sudden the responses that they're getting out of AI improve dramatically. And so they go from oh, that was okay, to, wow, that was really good. And that gets them to start using AI more frequently. I don't know how many times a day I use it. I would say conservatively, I'm doing 80 to 100 plus prompts on a daily basis. Generally,
wow, that's even more than me.
Generally, it's not just one prompt, though. Typically, it's a conversation. So, I may have 20 conversations, but each conversation may have 5 prompts in there that we're walking through. So I suppose it just depends on how you count. It allows
that's a good point.
Done.
No, it absolutely does. I mean, it's a productivity gain. I've heard, and I don't like to be a naysayer, but and this isn't really being a naysayer, but I guess I've
Makes
been
for a better discussion, so that's okay.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what we should do. Good point. But, I do research on this all day long and try to figure out where we're at, where we're going, what's the new technology. Things popping up every day. I heard somebody the other day said in 5 years, flat out, his prediction is in 5 years, if you do not use AI extensively, you will cease to exist. It's a little bit harsh, but I do think, maybe I'll give it a little bit more time. I've got a friend, he is in the construction equipment. And I think in his mind, he's sitting there thinking, hey, look, I do construction, a little bit of a monopoly here on some of the equipment. But there are other competitors. And if they're using AI, let's say they use nothing more than to help them with productivity, that means they're going to have better margins. Eventually, they're going to be able to sell the machines that he's looking at a lower rate. He's going to get beat. So
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to cease to exist per se, but as a business, I would agree that your business may cease to exist if you
That's
don't
what I mean.
embrace AI.
Yeah. Business.
That's no. I'm just clarifying. I've got a 17-year-old. You understand? I clarify everything. So that's the nature of life.
Very good. Yes.
But no, I don't disagree with that. To me, I'm a bit of a student of history, and if I look back, I started the workforce. I'm 56. I started the workforce as PCs were showing up on desktops and offices. Literally, prior to that, we had typewriters and adding machines, and I watched many people go, "I'm not getting rid of my typewriter and my adding machine. It's what I'm going to use. It's what I know how to do." Today, now it's 30 years later, 35 years later. I think most offices, you'd be hard pressed to find a typewriter, let alone have one that's being used on a regular basis. Sure, there's an exception somewhere, but those individuals that relied on it and those businesses that relied on that simply don't exist in the capacity that they used to exist because technology has changed and moved on. There were Smith Corona, if I'm not mistaken, used to be a major typewriter manufacturer. Maybe I'm wrong because I was new in that. And I don't even know if they exist anymore as a company because we don't buy typewriters. In fact, I don't even know if you can buy a typewriter. I haven't even looked at that in, I don't know how many years. So I think we're going to see the same thing with AI. I think we're going to see that employees are not going to lose their jobs as a general rule to AI, but they may lose it to somebody that knows what they do and embraces AI. Businesses are not necessarily going to lose their businesses because AI is going to replace their business, but I think they will get replaced or beat out by competitors that are embracing AI. Like you said, even if AI can't help me do something directly. Maybe I'm a forklift operator in a warehouse, and let's face it, there's no way that AI, short of robotics, is going to replace me. If I can still, while I'm running that warehouse, use AI to help me with logistics and planning and other things like that, I can be more efficient. And as a result, I can be more competitive. And it means I can put my competitor that's not doing that out of business.
No, so I think we agree on this one. I will tell you that, I often start a lot of my pitches. There's a picture I have of New York. It's Easter Sunday down Fifth Avenue. And in 1900, and all you see is horse and buggy.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 1913, 13 short years later, I show the same picture, same spot, and all you can see is cars. And then in each one, the first one I say, find a car. There's one car in there. And then in the next one I say, find the buggy. And there's one buggy in there. I mean, it's a crowded street. And that's 13 years when the world was slow. Mm-hmm. So now we're at where we're at. We're operating faster than Moore's Law. And if you don't think that technology can be replaced and replace, I can't imagine somebody, taking a horse to work. But that's kind of my analogy to some of my friends. Are you going to take the horse to work and you think you're going to be competitive? Think of it that way. I don't think they're thinking of it that way. I really think it's that profound a change that is upon us.
110%.
So I do think prompt engineering is going to get very, very different. I'll just leave it at that as we move forward, particularly with AI, agentic AI. And look, I think that the opportunities, look, let me ask this in the form of a question. Agents are not an if. They're a matter of time. They're already here. But they're really going to proliferate like we've never seen it before with automation, those forward feedback loops, taking actions for us, which is a whole set of challenges, including security and everything else. It seems like that's where most of the businesses will be moving towards in terms of that automation. You see it the same way?
Mm-hmm. I do. Absolutely. I think it's an inevitable march of progress, so to speak, that we're absolutely going to be seeing.
So when you advise like the marquee brands we were talking about, like the U.S. Tennis Association, is it back to some of the prompting, how to best use AI productivity in your workplace every day? Or give me like a feel for what that kind of engagement looks like.
Typically, it's training their teams how to take an AI first type attitude with things. So instead of looking at their work and going, oh, I could have done that with AI, we begin by taking a look at how could I use AI to in my day-to-day work in order to, again, save that time, make more money, provide better value to our clients. And whether that's with an enterprise client, whether that's the local mom and pop business, the same tends to hold true. And that's it. We want to help them shift that perspective, essentially to increase productivity. When I look at the number of people that my company serves with the number of staff that we have, I could have never done that when I had my agency. It would have taken far more staff. But it's because we're empowering our teams to use AI and they're leveraging AI that it allows us to get more done and, again, ultimately provide more value to everybody.
If somebody wants to meet with Jonathan and or Whitebeard Strategies, first of all, where do they go? And what could they expect in terms of monetization?
Yeah, simple and easy. Depends on what they want. We literally have trainings. I did one yesterday. It was $10 a person. Not expensive. It can be super inexpensive to get started. We've got a gazillion free resources. If gazillion is such a number, I don't know. We've got a lot of free resources in our Facebook group that we run. We've got almost 400,000 people in that group, and tons of free stuff there. If they're interested, just remember my name, Jonathan Mast. They can go to jonathanmast.com. They'll get access to that. Or if they just remember, not that they can see me, but if they can remember, I've got a white beard. They search for Whitebeard AI, they're going to find Whitebeard Strategies, and there's lots of links there to get started, to engage with us, to figure out what makes sense for their organization, and if I and my team are a good fit for them.
Feels like you love what you're doing, man.
I do. I'm having so much fun. So great.
A large team, or is it?
Counting myself, we've got 9 of us. I'm the forward-facing, the guy everybody talks to. And
you're the Whitebeard, yeah.
I'm the white. Yeah, there you go. I'm the Whitebeard, yeah. But I've got an amazing team behind me that I could not do what I do without them. They're doing the support and the direction, and it's kind of, as I shared earlier, they're handling the ops and things like that I'm not any good at. They're taking care of for me.
Makes sense. Hey, is there anything that I didn't ask to get into some of the details, maybe even the technical elements of this, that you would have liked me or want me to ask before we break?
There's so many things we probably could go down. The one thing I just love to share with your audience, and I know you talk about AI, so your audience probably is already using it, but if there's anybody out there that's wondering what's the perfect tool to use, I just want to encourage them that whatever tool they have is likely the tool they need at this moment. Any one of those tools will allow you to leap ahead from where you're at today. There may be a better tool for you to get down the road, but for today, getting started and taking advantage of those tools, let's face it, worst comes to worst, you could use meta.ai. It's free if you've got a Facebook or Instagram account. Is it perfect? No, but it's going to let you leap ahead from where you are today.
Most of the people listening to my podcast typically tend to be techies, not all, pretty heavy techies. Having said that, most of those same techies, as I challenge them through different ways when I see them around or whatever, are not using AI every day yet. They're just not. So these people that are listening are probably have a tendency to say, you roll their eyes, yeah, I got this. I don't think you got this, because when I'm asking around, you're not using AI like you should every day to make yourself more productive. So I guess my question to you, Jonathan, based on all your instructions, your coaching around AI, is there any simple things you would suggest that individuals, get started? You already kind of talked a little bit about that, but things they should be doing every day, things that that already be status quo. So almost to create the competitive spirit with some of those folks that are listening.
I think if you're not using AI to understand your clients and their needs, you're missing an incredible opportunity to both serve them and to make more money. There's so much opportunity in the world that we overlook because we're too busy. And AI, in my mind, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs, gives us that opportunity to have just a bit of breathing room to actually lean into some of those things that allow us to provide more value. Ultimately, when we provide more value, we're going to make more money.
So what do you use AI for every day? I'll give you mine. So what I do is, look, I'll ask, it replaces Google. Mm-hmm. I have it rewrite sentences, particularly customer letters, to your point. I have it research clients and summarize. I do like a discounted cash flow analysis for my investment. Mm-hmm. I've got it down to a really good prompt. So I just throw it in there. It gives me what I call the big 4, like earnings per share, book value per share, blah, blah, blah. And it tells me how it's been trending over the 10 years. It gives me debt ratio. Then it'll give me a margin of safety. Just essentially, so give me a look in a matter of minutes of whether this company is on sale, just from a fundamentals perspective. You still got to do your research. And then you can do your research. Speaking of, you could summarize a 10K. You can look at that in a matter of minutes as well. I could go on and on. Oh, I got to say this one. I could go on and on literally. When I go visit clients, I typically throw that into a podcast form. I'll throw a bunch of documents into a podcast form. So then when I'm on my way to the client, I'm listening in my head. People probably think I'm listening to music or something. I'm listening to a podcast, which they're going to put me out of business someday too, right? but I'm listening to a podcast of the company that I'm going to meet. And it's two people, AIs, talking with one another about, hey, have you heard about this company? Blah, blah, blah. And, did you know this? Did you know this? And I remember. So I walk in, I know the company, I'm shaking hands. I could say, I heard this happened last week. How did you get over that, guys? Whatever. I mean, so many use cases, and that's just like a day-to-day. I'm not even talking about the enterprise solutions that I'm providing. That's just some silly, funny stuff that make me productive every day. What kind of things are you doing?
A lot of those as well. In fact, you hit on one of my favorite things to do, and that's it. I love using Google's Notebook LM to put data into about my client and then have it create an audio podcast that I can listen to, whether it's about my client or, for that matter, anything that I want to learn how to do. I'm a lifelong learner, and if I'm trying to learn something, I love going out using deep research, putting that in, creating, like you said, that audio summary of it. And now when I walk or I'm driving or whatever I'm doing, I get to listen to that and learn effectively in real time. And the amount of time it takes me to do that is minimal for the amount of just knowledge that I can get out of it. At the end of the day, my favorite tip, what I use it probably for as much as anything else, or at least that brings me the most value, it's writing those difficult emails. We get emails from clients, we get emails from customers, we get emails sometimes from my staff. And it's like, I need to figure out a way to deal with this. And some of those are really difficult things to do. And AI helps me write those emails, those memos, those chat responses in seconds, and allows me to make simple edits that move forward and let me move on with my day.
It's pretty amazing, right? I mean, even when I do it now, I'm almost getting into, it could be a bad habit of, I write it. I'm a pretty good writer, and I've been doing I ran a customer support organization, so I know how to address a client pretty well. But still, when I put it into an LLM, a model, I prompt it, inevitably it comes back with something like, oh, that's pretty good. I wish I'd have said it kind of that way. And then I'll end up stealing it. I mean, it helps me a ton. Anyway, let me ask you two more questions, and then I'll call it up. First question, what's true around AI, what you've discovered that nobody agrees with you on?
I wouldn't say nobody, but very few people agree that AI is not going to take over. Everybody seems to be afraid of that. I don't think it will. I think probably the big thing that people don't agree with me on is when I say that AI is actually improperly named. It's not really artificial intelligence. It's predictive intelligence, if anything. And I think a lot of people are like, no, you're absolutely wrong. I don't fear AI. I don't have any fear about it at all. I think it's a tool, and I think it's a tool we need to use effectively.
But do you fear the people that are using AI?
No, I don't. I believe in the human race. Are there bad people out there? Absolutely. But if I focus on bad people, I can't do good things. So I'd rather just focus on doing good stuff.
Good answer. All right. Jonathan Mast, thank you. What do you do for fun?
Ride motorcycles and quads.
Oh, nice. Is this like both on the street and, on trails, or both?
Yeah, I've got a street motorcycle that I ride. I love to do that. My favorite way of transportation. And then I recently, after having not rode out in the dirt for many years, my wife said, Jonathan, you need to do something to get away from your desk. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to get a quad. I haven't had one in years. And so we're fortunate. We live just a few miles away from a 1,000-acre motorsports park that I can go to anytime I want, with over 100 miles of trails. And I drive over there and have a ball getting dirty.
Nice. What city do you call home?
I'm in Foley, Alabama.
Foley, Alabama. Nice. And they have the outdoor, trails or something, huh?
Yeah, just neighboring to us, we're down by the Gulf Coast in a neighboring town just about 10 miles north of us. There's down along the river, there's a massive, like I said, motorsports park. Almost, I think it's 1,000 acres and 100 miles of trails. I always have to think where the 1,000 and 100 come, but it's
man, you could get lost.
I have before, yeah. You're literally on a trail and you're pulling your phone and going, how do I get back to the truck?
That's when you know you had a good day, though. You're like, this is awesome. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, sharing your insight with you. Good luck to Whitebeard Strategies. Sounds like you're already on a roll. Are you bootstrapped, or are you? Is this venture 100%. Funded? Or?
No,
100% bootstrap.
I started when I left my agency, and my wife says, all right, so the rule is the same when we started our agency. We weren't going to borrow any money because one of the failed ventures that I mentioned earlier on, we did borrow a bunch. And so, I started with $1,100.
Nice. Well, great. Look, listeners, if anyone out there wants a quick start to leveraging AI for productivity optimization, I think I know where you should go. Whitebeard Strategies and Jonathan Mast. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great conversation.
It has. Listeners, thank you. We'll see you next time on the podcast. Please don't forget to rate and review. Let us know how we're doing. Until then, see you on the podcast. See you. Bye.